Hey everybody, welcome to the Jozabad Podcast. Today's date is 11/11/2020, Veterans Day. We're here joined by none other than JT Yarns, owner and CEO of Edify and Empower. Welcome, JT Yarns.
What's going on? What's going on?
It's happening, man. This is our first podcast, and I'm pretty excited about it. What do you think, man?
Hey, listen, man. I am extremely excited. I was excited when you hit me up, and people say, man, when it's time, just jump, and we're gonna build the wings on the way down. I know you heard that about a month ago. Now we heard that when we was in residency. So we about to build the wings on the way down.
Man, you know what? I'm very excited that you decided to jump on this. JT Yarns, man, from Florida A&M University, Rattlers, go Rattlers. Tell me a little bit about yourself, man. Where you're at and how you feel. Tell me a little bit about your background. But before we jump into that, man, we just had an amazing turn of events here in the United States of America with our 2020 election. So before we jump into your background, man, tell me a little bit of what are your thoughts on the election?
So, I'm definitely excited about the changing of the guard, so to speak. I'm very hopeful, that everything goes well, excited. Specifically, let me say this for little Black girls, man, this is a monumental moment for them, a moment in history that, they seldom come by. And so I'm excited for that because this adds fuel to the fire for little Black girls to be able to be successful, man, to dream big. And so I definitely want to, make note of that. But this is a moment in history, man. The people have spoken, and the United States have let people know what they really want, and so that in itself really excites me. I'm just interested to see how once the changing of the guards really happen, like what things will really look like. You, out of all people, understand how an election process work, how campaign work, and I know like people talk a good game, until it's time to really do some work. So I really want to see what the work looks like, because let's be honest, people are out of time. So let's get to work, So that's where I'm at with it.
Are you saying that people are liars naturally?
People lie. Now, whether they're learn it, I'm not I'm not quite sure. What I will say is people tend to stress the truth a lot, and they're not really honest. And so, from what I can tell, because I've never been in politics like that, but from what I can see, it's a brutal game, and sometimes I feel like people are just not really genuinely honest. They just say whatever feels good, whatever sounds good, so they can get somewhere. And I see career politicians, and I don't see a lot of change. So that's just me.
Man, okay. The song that came into my head was that women lie, people lie. Oh no, how does that song go? Women lie, men lie, women lie, men lie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, anyways, man, career politicians, that's a great topic of conversation. Tell me about that, man. Are you for term limits? Are you against term limits?
I'm definitely for term limits, bro. I don't think no one person should hold an office for an extended period of time like that. Whatever the term limit, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, whatever. We have to give new leaders an opportunity to grow in the lead, and take on these positions. Leadership, as you know, and we would definitely get into this topic, it's always developing, it's always growing. And so if you having the same leader for 14, 15, 16 years, what's really growing and developing. If that leader isn't growing, I'm pretty sure the organization, the followers, the teams are not growing if the leader is not growing. So, and again, like we have to give people an opportunity to lead and develop. What good is a leader if they're not developing and influencing other people? So I'm all for term limits. Give somebody else an opportunity to lead. See where they're gonna take the mantle, so to speak.
Yeah, that was actually one of the biggest things I kept on hearing in this last election. And they were talking about career politicians and this individual that got elected, Joe Biden. He's been in office for over 40 years, is what I was hearing. Now, but hey, the people have spoken. The people have determined that that's who they want through the electoral college process, right? Which
Yeah,
there's a lot of controversy in regards to that. Am I correct in saying that?
yeah, you're correct.
I mean, what comes to my mind back is the Al Gore election. That remember that hanging Chad,
Yeah,
man, and that was in your state.
Florida does Florida things, bro. Like Florida do some. It's crazy over here, bro. Those that don't know, I'm from Florida. South Florida to be specific, and I'm gonna just tell you, South Florida is different from other areas of Florida. So, and Miami is its own state. So let's be clear about that. But yeah, Florida do Florida things, bro. And there are a lot of things that don't surprise me when it comes to Florida, man. It's just kind of the nature of it. As I, continue to learn and grow, man, and study, I always try to look at, behaviors and really figure out, like, why these things kind of going on and, why people this way and that type of thing. So, hopefully, Florida will grow into something different than what it is. I grew up in a rural area. We call it the Muck where I'm from, which is like Western Palm Beach County. So those that follow the NFL, my cousin Anquan Bolden is from there. Janoris Jenkins is from there. Pernell McPhee. So we've had a couple of people, in the league, and there are many others whom I haven't named, but and no disrespect to any of them or anything like that. But the Muck has produced a lot of phenomenal people. But from that area, man, that is poverty stricken and things like that, and so we don't have a lot of opportunities coming from over there. But when you think about that, when people think about Florida, they don't think about poverty-stricken areas and things like that. They think about all the high life, the lights, the beaches, those type of things. But when it comes to the real groundwork, there are things that get missed.
It's funny you say that because I think of Florida, and I always equate it to music. Growing up, I was a DJ, and music has influenced a lot of my life. But I think of Florida, I think of Miami bass. I think of DJ Laz. I think of Mr. 305 before he was Mr. Worldwide. Like there's just so much. But definitely has its own taste of music and its own taste of areas. Now, you mentioned you're from rural Florida. What is the state of the nation in rural county Florida right now? How,
Um, Go ahead.
in regards to education, in regards to hospitals, you name it.
So, with me being like a little removed from a lot of it, just from experience, man, really growing up, and then even looking at it now. So, like growing up in Pahokee, we had a hospital. My mom actually worked at that hospital back in the day. Now that hospital has been demolished. Like it doesn't even exist anymore. They have since built another hospital in between Pahokee and Belgrade, which are two um, I don't want to use the word rivalry cities or anything like that, but they're neighboring communities, which is inclusive in the Muck. So when people talk about the Muck, they talk about Belgrade, Pahokee, and South Bay. You'll hear those three, and then you'll hear a little bit of Clewiston. Very rarely will you ever hear Canal Point, but being from those areas, bro, I felt like going off to college that educationally we were disadvantaged and behind. It's not to say that anybody is, like not smart or anything like that, but there are just a lot of things in terms of education that we didn't have, growing up. Avid wasn't a real thing at that point. IB was just kind of kicking in, as I was kind of heading out the door. Um, Now they have like STEM programs and things like that, robotics. They just have a lot more advantages now over there through I think grants and things like that. You got to think administration staff was a lot different too when I was growing up. But I still feel like there can be more done. They had a middle school built, it's not state of the art, but it's definitely a lot better because growing up, the middle and high school was combined. So we definitely have a middle school now and they rebuilt one of the elementary schools. But the elementary school I went to, it hasn't been rebuilt or anything like that. So I think educationally, man, there's a lot of work to be done. Shout out to the educators, man, because you all do not get paid the worth. I was just thinking today, my question was going to be like, what should, like, just across the board, like teacher starting salary should be across the board.
Hmm.
Of course we got to accommodate for like cost of living and stuff like that. Cause I remember, I can't remember the guy name, but he was from California. He was the administrator. And he was talking about how, how they did PDD, incentives and stuff like that. I remember him talking about that. And so I was like, yo, that seemed like a dope idea. But at the same time, we asking teachers to get PDD, but we're not even paying them, a reasonable wage, man, to just do the regular work. But we want them to grow and develop. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
there is a disconnect, if you will, as it pertains to that, which does fall on the line of job satisfaction. And you and I have already talked about, the two-factor theory in terms of motivation and job satisfaction. Really, pay is one of those motivators. And we got to pay people what they worth.
It sure is. I mean, that's another topic of conversation in which can get very heated, very passionate about, because it's very personal, right? And individuals want to get paid what they perceive their worth is. So there's definitely a tug of war happening in our society, in which, uh, let's just take educators for example. The amount of work they put in, and you spoke to that. They feel that there should be an increase in pay. And you know what? Hey, more power to them, man. I mean, they put in a lot of work. They are definitely the building blocks of our nation in terms of our future. So shout out to all the teachers out there for sure, holding it down, especially during Corona. Let's talk about Corona, man. How has Corona impacted you, man? Like, I mean, I know how it's impacted me, but how is it impacting JT Yarns in Florida, man?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. This is gonna sound like super crazy, but I'm an introvert, man. So, I'm okay with being at the crib. I can't speak for everybody, man, but what I will say is, it has definitely changed the dynamic, and it has changed the work environment. For a while, like, with my current job, so I'm currently a program coordinator over an evidence-based team program. And so I knew all along that I could work from home. Prior to this job, I was an investigator with the Department of Children and Families. In other states, they call it Family and Children Services. Um, Being able to do that job and being in the field majority of the time and stuff like that, I understand the dynamics of work in the work environment, and because I moved around a lot. So, Corona has really changed what we consider a work environment. It has changed the dynamic of what we really consider work. What it has also done in terms of leadership is it has forced leaders to really lead differently, take an assessment of really what's going on. And there are a lot of leaders who are struggling, and they're struggling because they believe in being management. They believe in, trying to manage people like processes, as opposed to really leading people, and not being able to see people and physically touch them and monitor their behaviors. There are a lot of, I don't even want to call them leaders, there are a lot of supervisors who are currently struggling with that. And it's taking them 6, 8 months to really make an adjustment, which causing to question their management style. Right. And so, Corona has shut down, businesses, man, business has closed down. But what it has done is, for a lot of people, man, it has ignited a fire in them that they've never had before. I had one of my homies tell me, he was like, man, I need like the beginning of Corona to happen again, because I've had these ideas, and, I started, my business, and, now I'm just, bowed down a little bit. And so we talked about that. We did some coaching about that. But there are a lot of people that started businesses, man, within the last 8 months. Business is closed and then business is open. And there are a lot of people that are that has used this time very wisely. They use the time to develop themselves, find their gift or their talent, and really realize what's important to them. I told people at the beginning of this that now you about to feel like what it feels like to deal with you. like you have to deal with you now at this point because there's nobody else to deal with. When you
Yeah.
got to work from home, you don't have a lot of social interaction. Now you about to figure out what you really made of. And so, that has really transpired, man. But what it has also done is limit our social interactions. And there are a lot of people that are struggling, which leads to additional mental health issues and things like that. And so that's why we see a lot of therapy and therapists becoming more and more relevant at this point. I mean, they became relevant prior to this, or should have been more relevant prior to this. But now, because you got to deal with you, it's a different ball game in terms of mental health because you can't really hide. You have to deal with it.
Brother, I tell you what, man. So you are the owner and CEO of Edify and Empower. However, you also do some coaching on the side, or is that a part of all of this?
Yeah, it's a part of it. So I developed Edifying Empowerment about we in 2020 now, so about 2 years ago, going on 3 years. My end goal was leadership and development, man. Like I wanted to be a consultant. My uncle told me this years ago when I first moved back home. He said, "Nephew, if you're gonna do anything, be a consultant. You get to charge what you want, and you get to do what you want." And so I was like, okay, well, what the hell am I gonna do? Like, like what am I really good at? And so one of my friends brought this to my attention. He said, "Man, you've been preparing for leadership since you was a kid." And I never really thought about it like that. I had an old supervisor that I had talked to who I'm good friends with. And she said, "You never realized how much power you had and how you led a team." She said, "When you came in with an attitude and was, on one," she said, "you affected the whole team." And I was like, well, at that time, I'm an undergrad, younger. I didn't care. I didn't know any better. I'm just like, I want what I want. I'm selfish. And so out of that, man, being exposed to toxic leaders and being exposed to effective leaders is really what stemmed, man, and put that fire in me to, really want to do it. And I really wanted to start with self, right? Like if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead anybody else. And so I, began my self-discovery and my leadership journey, which led me to, to this fantastic doctoral program we in. And I wanted to, just really expand my knowledge base and really look at it and get to the bottom of it because a lot of my background is in clinical work. So my undergrad is from Florida A&M in psychology, and then my master's is in psychology from GCU. And those that don't know, me and Jay are both in doctoral programs at GCU. So I got in the game, man, to really
Lopes up.
I got in the game, man, to really learn, man, and really try to help people because it's just some piss poor leaders, bro. And let's call it what it is. It's some piss poor leaders that are out here just doing damage to organizations, man. They're doing damage to people, and nobody's calling it into question. Nobody is really trying to help people, man. Like help people be better leaders. I sat in leadership trainings, bro, where I'm in there with executive directors, like executive level leaders, and to hear their thought process and to hear how they're managing people, bro, I'm just like, this is insane. And this what y'all pay people 60, 80, $100,000 to do, and they trash. That is trash, bro. Like, and I mean, literally, man, I've had it out in trainings, man, and like really call people on their bias, call people out on their leadership, because I'm like, if you really leading like that, and we in this intimate setting, I can only imagine what you're doing when ain't nobody really looking at you and can't nobody really check you on it, because employees are afraid to really stand up because they job scared, right? I need my job. I need to make money. I got a family to support. I got
Right.
things to do. So I'm not going to really say anything. So that becomes passive. And then now we are, allowing people to do whatever they want to do. But yeah, man, to make a long story short, bro, while I was in undergrad, I wasn't doing too well, right? I was, not an ideal student, so to speak, and I struggled. And my mom, who's since transitioned, my mom asked me, well, son, how you doing? How your grades or whatever. And I said, well, mom, they're not too good. And, instead of ridiculing me or anything like that, she just said, son, do better. And so, I took that and eventually I got my act together and, of course, got out of FAMU. It took me 12 years to get out, but that's here nor there. But what I did was I took what she said and I just, I honed in on it. And I had a coworker who used to hear me say it all the time, and I never really thought about it. She said, "You need to put that on a shirt." And for my birthday, man, about 3 years ago now, I put it on a hoodie. My good friend Felicia was able to create me a hoodie. And to be honest with you, bro, that signature red hoodie that I did those years ago was trash. Like it didn't come out well. She was like, "I don't like it." She said, "I'm gonna give it to you for free." I say, well, I'm still gonna wear it. Like, I first of all, I'm going to DC. It's cold as hell, and I I need something. And I made a video, man, and people started hitting me up about the hoodie. And it was like, yo, where can I get that hoodie? And then things start like developing from there. And so I'm like, I really need to hone in and get focused and do things like that. And so that's how Do Better was developed, and that's how the leadership consulting and coaching business really was developed, man, out of just my mom helping me, telling me to get my life together, basically.
Well, it's funny thing is that oftentimes things, lightning, you can catch it in a bottle, but it's only going to be once in a lifetime.
Wow.
And when we talk about these items, oftentimes we are our biggest self-critic. So to us, we're saying, "Oh man, it's not good enough." However, the world perceives it a different way because perception is our reality. And you coming out with Do Better, saying, "Hey, it's trash," to you it was treasure. You moved on, and now you have Edify and Empower alongside Do Better clothing. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Now, additionally, I met you about a month ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's been about. Bro,
and
it feels like it was just yesterday.
man, but here's the thing, man. We were talking, a coworker of mine and myself, and I'm like, "Yo, man, like I don't know what to talk about," but you told me we're just gonna build on it, and it takes me back to the conversations when we met, and we were just talking about our experiences. And funny thing is that oftentimes we don't understand or value how impactful our experiences are to others, because our journey is our journey. However, there's others that are trying to get to where we are.
Yeah.
So, man, that's a great story, man. Tell me a little bit more about what they were saying that was so impactful when you would walk into a room and you would lead people.
Um, Let me make sure I understand. So, what people would say when I'm in the trainings, or when I actually lead people?
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the power that you had according to other people, the perception of other people's.
Oh man, like, have you ever seen somebody that, like, when they come in a room, like they could change the atmosphere of the room?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that. And I didn't really understand it because at the time, very young in the game, man, and work with the state, and for me it was just a job, but I worked that job for about 7 years. It got me through undergrad, and it's just it was crazy, man. How, like, I could be pissed off and not say nothing, and then the whole unit would just kind of be quiet, man. Like my team would just, they'd be like, "What's wrong with JT?" Him and Bert beefing, and then the days where I'm like live and in color, it's like everybody, we crying, we want to go to lunch, we want to do whatever. And so it was crazy to like really think about it, like, reflect on it and see it and really understand how much power that was. And so when I switched jobs, because I left there and I started my, my clinical work. So I became a pretty much a mental health counselor, so to speak. And working with young people in DJJ. And at this point, I'm gonna tell everybody, man, you got to be careful what you ask for in life, because you just might get it, and it might not look like what you thought it was. And when I got in the game with DJJ, bro, like I was like, yo, I want to work with these kids, they need help, and I really want to help them or whatever, not understanding that dynamic and how deep trauma is, how deep the system is. And some of these kids, man, was just, they struggled. And so I was there about, I think, 4 months before I had transitioned, but those were the most impactful 4 months of my clinical career, bro. And working with those young kids, man, like really helped grow, my leadership, because at the time too, for those who don't know, I'm a Mason. So I was like third in charge of my lodge. So working with those kids, bro, and then leading the lodge, like I was being hypocritical because the things I'm teaching and educating on, I wasn't practicing what I preached. And so I got called to the carpet on that stuff. And so I had to begin to really assess myself and say, how you go in here and work with these kids, man, and you don't even do your own work. You can't tell the kid, well, if you got a problem with somebody, you need to go to that man and work out that problem. But I got beef with somebody and I don't even address it. I just don't even try to have a grown man conversation about it. And so, a lot of that stuff, it kind of happened like that. When I came to work, people were excited to see me. And I'm not saying that every day was a great day, like don't get that twisted, but definitely enjoyed my time. Even when I transitioned to being a contract manager, and I met some very dope people that had their own nonprofits and things like that. I've had somebody tell me, they said, we've never seen a man in this position, and especially somebody that does what you do. At one point, I was running the whole program by myself because my coworker was out. And bro, I had changed the dynamic of that program in a matter of months. Like we did like monthly conference calls. This was well before Zoom. And I changed the dynamic, bro. Like people were excited to get on the call. They were excited to talk about the work that they were doing. And we all learned from each other. So when I'm going on site visits, it's like, a cousin at a barbecue. It's like, cousin, you know what I mean? Like you show up because they put a name.
Hey, give me some of them ribs, man.
You know what I'm saying? We get that plate with that mac and cheese on the side over there.
Mac and cheese, man. I remember that back in Arizona, man. People were like, what you know about that mac and cheese from the Southern Hospitality?
Right.
Hey, man. So you mentioned something very important, and I want to ask you a question about this, man. So you're Mason.
Yeah.
Does National Treasure do the Masonry justice, or is there a lot of myths in that movie about the Masonry?
I'll just say, as always, anybody tell you to be one, ask one, man. But what I will say is that there are a lot of hidden messages and a lot of hidden meanings. National Treasure, I actually like the first one better than I do the second one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's some good stuff, man. But I'll tell you, man, Masonry is a way of life. Like Masonry really, as a young man, like really shaped me and molded me, because I met some of the most intellectual brothers I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
They challenged me, man, intellectually to my core. When I mean literally, like, just broke me down, man. Like not in a bad way. Like I remember Dr. Cornell West going to Florida State to do a lecture. And one of my brothers had like free tickets. Well, I think they were free. I don't remember, but they're like, yo, JT, we want you to come. So it's like 3 of the most intellectual brothers I know in the lodge. And then myself, and I'm like a kid, man, because I'm like, one, I got an opportunity to see Dr. West in person that I had missed that opportunity when he was at FAMU years prior to that. And then 2, I had so many questions, and I'm around, they having conversations, and I'm lost, bro. Like, I'm like, man, I don't even know what they talking about. Like, this sound crazy, like, they're like, JT, what you think? I'm like, well, I mean, I don't really know what y'all talking about. So it made me have to go read and do my own work. And
right.
So I began to, be able to add value when I did my own work, And so shout out to, to the foe. Them boys made me, man. Like they, even to this day, like we actually, I had texted you the dates and stuff, but we actually have a Zoom call on Friday. And one of the things that we've been doing, because we had a couple of brothers to transition, to be with ancestors. And so we're trying to get together just more often, virtually or whatever, because, I've had brothers literally crying, man, saying like, I'm tired of coming to funerals, man. Like I'm tired. We keep talking about stuff, but we never do it. Mm-hmm. And so I just took the initiative and was like, yo, let's get together, man. Like, I don't care if it's 5 people on the call, and I just did my part. And so it showed you the love that we have for each other and just the overall development that they were able to pour into me, man. But yeah, National Treasure was good, man, but I ain't giving up.
Yeah, no, I kind of figured you'd answer that way, because again, If you really want to know what it's like, you got to ask. You got to ask a Mason himself, right? And there's a lot of stuff that can't be disclosed. I understand that, but one of the biggest things that I do know is the universal G, and that universal G. I mean, we talked about that most recently in another conversation, a buddy of mine and myself, and we were discussing, the state of our nation and the divide. Um, but ultimately, they're not asking you to choose a side. They're just asking you to believe in a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, that's awesome, man. I got more love and respect for you, man.
The feeling is mutual, bro.
Yeah,
Um, I was kind of sad, not to go back on the election thing, but I was kind of sad that you didn't really win, bro, because I was rooting for you. Because I saw from my initial conversation, and let me just say this because I want people to understand this. Like I'm so introverted that if you would have never said nothing to me, I would have never said nothing to you.
right.
Like I sat there the entire week and like probably said very few words, but that would have hindered me from just this relationship, but the learning process of what we got from that experience, right? And just you hit me up and was like, yo, bro, come to the room. You know what I mean? We're gonna go grab some food. Just that interaction, man, just that olive branch that you extended brought us here. But what it also did was it opened the doorway so I could really see who you were as a person. You
Right.
know, before anything about a campaign, any of all that, like you are a genuine person. You know what I mean? Like
Thank you.
genuinely good person that wants to do right. And this is for people that don't know, this is from meeting a man, for a whole week and being in the same room and having genuine conversations. And I think that that's what's lost in this whole dynamic of things is that we don't have authentic, genuine conversations with people to really try to figure people out. People, try to be too conniving, man, and try to like hide things, but you didn't hide nothing. You didn't spare no punches. Like, no, this me, this where it's at, man. And what's up? Let's talk.
uh,
And I appreciate that.
No, man. Hey, the pleasure is all mine. And what JT's talking about is, and he mentioned this earlier, is that him and I are part of a doctoral program with Grand Canyon University, and it just turns out that we are both very similar in our studies. Uh, Moreover, what we're talking about here is just the connection, man. And funny you say that because in America, we Corona has actually brought the family unit back, I think, in my personal opinion.
I agree.
We're stuck in our houses, getting to know our kids, getting to know our family members, our friends. One of the things that we keep on seeing is all these people walking the neighborhoods. Just walking the dogs, going on bike rides. I'm like, am I in 1970 or 1980 or something? I mean, wow, this is happening all over again. Wow. Speak to that, man. What are you seeing on top of that? We talked about what you're seeing in regards to Corona, but I mean, do you vouch? Is that something similar that's going on in Florida as well? That families are coming together?
Yeah, man. Bro, when I tell you, like, I wanted to go buy a bicycle because I started seeing people like posting about it, getting miles in riding a bike, and then I automatically went back when I was a kid, and I used to ride bikes and stuff like that. Side note, so I've wrecked everything on two wheels. I just want to say that, and I had several accidents on bicycles. So it's not funny, but I was like, yo, I want to get a bike, right? And I mean, literally, Walmart was sold out. Like all these stores were sold out. Bikes was costing $500, $1,000. I'm like, when did bicycles get this expensive?
Yeah.
And what you started seeing was that like groups of people getting together riding a bike. You know what I mean? People started workout programs, at home workout programs, group workouts, still socially distancing. I seen people, hitting the pavement. I actually, for a while, I have a Planet Fitness membership, and so I stopped going because the gyms were closed, right? And so I was like, it had gotten to the point where, life had kind of like put a little pressure on me, and that turned into like when we start talking about manifestations of like stress and stuff like that, it turns into physical things too. So I like started having like little chest pains and stuff. And I'm like, yo, like I'm not trying to have no heart attack or no stroke. And then I was like, let me get my fat butt up. And what I did was I created me and my brother. We call it reflective lunches. So what we did was I would call him on the duo. So if you got iPhone, FaceTime. And I would go for a walk, man. Like I would walk from where I stay at to the post office. It's like a mile. So I'll just walk there and walk back, and me and my brother will talk. We wouldn't even really talk about work, man. We'll just talk about other stuff, and then we'll fix lunch together. So like I would try to make me a little smoothie or something, or fix me a little healthy lunch. And as long as the weather permitted, every day, man, like clockwork, because he was working from home as well. So everything like every day at clockwork, man. Well, we were on it. And I just noticed a lot of people getting their miles in. My fraternity brothers, I think some of them was saying they was clocking in. They was running like 30 miles a week, man. I was like, first of all, I barely get in 5 miles a week, so I don't know how y'all do that. But it has definitely allowed people to find alternatives to get healthy. And when I mean healthy, I mean spiritually, physically, emotionally, all of those things, because we have lived such a fast-paced life that we never really slowed down to really just take a breath, man, to just chill, to really focus on the things that are most important. And Corona put the brakes on, bro. When I mean put the brakes, I mean like slammed on brakes. And now people are really assessing what's important. Now you got time to work out. Well, before you didn't really have time to work out. Now you got time to actually cook lunch and dinner because you home, and you either, A, you can't afford to eat out, or you're not really trying to go in the streets anyway. Now, unless you sport and you got Uber Eats or DoorDash or something like that, you go order that, but it's gonna take you 45, 50 minutes sometimes to get that food. So you better off just trying to do right and cook your own food, man. But definitely have seen significant changes in people's mindset, in the physical part as well. Hitting the streets, man, getting these workouts in, bro. When I tell you, like bicycles was missing, workout gear was gone from Walmart, bro. Like I'm talking everything you can name that you like. Oh well, I'm gonna go get a sauna suit. You probably better off trying to get it off Amazon. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just that crazy how people just converted, and they're like just trying to get right. Just trying to, we can't really get summertime fine at this point, but they trying to get winter fine. I guess I don't know.
Man, you I know that's right when it comes to things being out and sold out and not being able to get it. I mean, I still remember that time when COVID hit back in March, man, and man, I couldn't even find toilet paper.
Oh man,
Wow,
I never
wow.
seen nothing like that in my life. Like I understood like parents that have more than one child, because if you have kids, you know that when them kids home, they're gonna use up everything you got, food,
Yeah.
a lot of that. So I get that part of it, man. But like just to go into like a Publix, bro, and like shelves are like bare, I'm like, yo, this is insane. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the purpose? And then, of course, the hand sanitizers and the Lysol, man, and hand soap. It's just like, yo, are y'all serious? But I really do feel like people are just hoarding products, bro. Cause when I think about it, like I'm in Florida, so we have hurricane season every year. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Even during like when there's a hurricane coming and stuff like that, bro, it don't look like that. And that's when
Yeah.
you need to, excuse me, like stock up on supplies and stuff. It was never like that, and like now this is insane, bro. Like it brought me back to, we had a hurricane about 3 or 4 years ago, I believe. It didn't really hit us that bad. Bro, when I tell you gas stations was out of gas,
Hmm.
like it was so scarce, man. I was like, once I got gas, I'm like, I'm not driving nowhere. Like, I'm gonna just chill, because you literally had to get on an app to find gas, to just be able to put gas in your car, and people still had to go to and from work. And at this time, I was working like I was living like an hour away from my office. So I had to put a lot of miles on my car. But it's just insane how when you create that level of anxiety and scarcity mentality, what people will do. I remember like they running stores were running out of chicken. You know what I'm saying? Like running out of meat. Like it was crazy. Like I go to Publix and I'm like, yo, ain't really, if you're trying to, do healthy stuff, like sometimes it wasn't available. And it's just weird, man, how all of that stuff really played out. But this toilet paper foolishness, bro, Like, what did you do to us toilet people? You know?
I'll tell you what, man. I mean, as a nation, there's many opinions of our nations from outside countries and so forth, and it makes us reflect on who we are as a nation. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, COVID has really brought out some diamonds in the rough,
Yeah.
and it makes us, for those that know and want to do better, pun intended.
Mhm.
We talk about the necessities, and this is what, in my opinion, the government should really focus on: being universal: food, utilities, and health. If we really want to do better as a nation, then we need to focus on these three things because they're scarce.
Mhm.
I came upon a message recently, and that message is about time is limited. And you know, when individuals become the victim, I just got diagnosed with cancer. You know, I don't know that feeling, and I can't empathize. Nonetheless, would you agree that you and I are both dying at the same time? I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Would you agree that we're both dying while we're living?
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yep.
Death is where we're going. So we're all going to get there. What we need to do is we need to flip the script and say, you know what? I'm going to live every single day the best way I know I can.
Bro, I got something deep for you, bro. As you was talking, I'm finna put this on you. I don't really talk about this like this, but it's important because we're talking about like health, and we're really talking about mindset, right?
Yeah.
So, my mother, who has since transitioned, my mother had two strokes when I was about 8 years old. Okay, so I was a caregiver as a young man.
Hmm.
And when my mom did, after the strokes and stuff, they go through rehab. So she did rehab for about, I don't remember the exact time. I'm gonna just say 9 months. It could have been six. It could have been a little longer. I'm not sure. But my mom did rehab, and she got home, and our whole lives changed. I'm the only child. It was always me and my mom. However, my mom was adamant, and her mindset was like, I'm gonna get my health back. I'm gonna get the use and activity of my limbs back. Like I'm not gonna be paralyzed forever, right? And so the mindset, we did at home therapy. She would walk every day. Like we made grave attempts to really get her health back. But after a while, bro, it just I think it just set in to the point where she realized is like I'm not gonna be back normal again. And so that turned into what people don't know is that I realized my mom was depressed while I was in college, but I didn't really realize until later after she said something to me. Um, you know, you have to understand too. My mom wasn't working; she was disabled
Hmm.
in the 90s, bro. And we talking about 2006. You know what I'm saying? So we talking about years she didn't work. We lived off of disability and Social Security, and the little bit of child support that my dad was providing to my mom. But the thing about it was, my mom had called me, and my mom had contemplated suicide. Like she told me about it, and I'm just like, whoa, didn't really see that coming. But because of life, bro, it had a toll on her mentally.
Hmm.
She wasn't able to get the best healthcare in the world, based on her circumstances. But, mentally she just had kind of checked out, even, what I will say is this, at some point, she had kind of checked out, but then at other points where, she was all the way checked in. And I tell people like even the day my mom transitioned, bro, I tell people I don't care what anybody says. She fought until the day she couldn't fight anymore in terms of fighting to live. She may not have done everything right, in terms of eating right, exercising and stuff like that. But in terms of like I'm gonna live every day, like every day I wake up, I'm gonna do something. It doesn't matter how little it is. She definitely did that. And so when we talk about this type of thing, man, like, we have to get up and fight every single day, bro. Because if not, depression is real, man. Like sadness
Yeah.
is that thing could jump on you, bro, and it won't let you go. And then you start having like suicidal ideations and all these thoughts and things like that. And that's not the answer. It's not the answer. Thank God, she didn't do any of that. But there are people that, you know, contemplate this thing day in and day out. And like you said, there's one guarantee in life, and that's death. Like, we are gonna leave here at some point. Now, where we go and what happens with all that, you know, I can't tell you. I ain't never been. But what I will say is that our day is gonna come. You know, whether it come, you know, sooner or later, we have a day. But we have to live each day though. Like, we have to do what's important for us every day, and we have to make sure that we give it everything that we got. You know, and this does not mean it's always all gas, no brakes. Like, I believe in self care. I believe in taking breaks. I believe in peace and relaxation. I believe in all that. But I also believe in, you know, putting in the work and making it happen.
Yep.
And you know, I just wanted to drop that on you, bro, because as you were talking, like, I was really thinking about, like, you know, how you know, just these negative thoughts, man, can take advantage of you. And
Oh
if
man.
you don't do what you're supposed to do, man, like, that could turn bad quick.
You know, life has a funny way of bringing people together, but it also has a funny way of getting us to talk about real life situations, man. And I'll tell you what, man, I'll be the first to tell you, I've hit rock bottom before, man. And you're definitely right when you focus on that negative energy, you focus on that depressive, you focus on that state of mind, it'll get you, man, and it'll get you. I mean, I'll tell you what, man, it looked very promising to me, you know. And one of these things that we need to do is we need to seek accountability partners.
Yeah.
You know, individuals that will call you from time to time. Hey, how you been? Hey, how you doing? Because the moment I mean, you can have it all,
Mhm.
but you can still be empty inside.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's deep. That's deep. You can have it all and still feel empty inside. I think Deion Sanders said that, Primetime said that, I think it was Prime, because him and Young Jeezy were on I think Jeezy started a new talk show or something like that. And Prime said that, like, you know, you got all this stuff, but you still feel lost, hopeless, like, just by yourself, man. Like, you feel empty. And it's a crazy feeling, bro, that there are some people that don't get it, and then there are people that truly, truly understand where you're coming from, right? And until you hit the bottom, like, we too entitled, man, and we too spoiled to really understand what the bottom feel like. You know, I didn't come from, you know, privilege or nothing like that, but I do realize, you know, what the bottom of the barrel feels like. And it ain't no good feeling, bro. And I
Yeah.
talked to you about accountability partners. That was gonna be a question to you, man. Like, what did you do to, like, you know, get your spirits up, man? Like, get you to a better place.
Well, you know, again, I shout out to my buddy Chewy. You know, sometimes there's individuals that come into your life at the perfect time, and that definitely occurred with me. I had just gotten divorced, and you know, I had, you know, I'm not gonna blame anybody but myself, right? But I didn't have the family situation that I wanted. I wanted to see my kids, you know what I'm saying? But you know, legal happens and divorce happens and all that good stuff and all that good stuff. uh, I didn't mean to say that, but what ended up happening was that my buddy came by to visit, and him and I would always do these little jam sessions, and you know, he would play guitar, play drums, uh, and I think I'm singing. In my mind, it sounds great. I don't know, but I'm way off key. I need auto tune. But yeah, dude, he showed up and he was like, "Hey, man, let's go have some lunch. You know, let's go talk and so forth." And sure enough, man, he came at the perfect time because everything looked beautiful to me. You know what I'm saying? A 9 millimeter looked great. And I was just it was just one of those times, perfect time and perfect opportunity for him to get me out of the house, you know. And the rest is history. We talk about it now, and he, you know, he's like, "Man, I love you too, bro," you know. um, and I will always value that. You know, you see it in films numerous times, you know, like the bottom, you know, like they've hit rock bottom.
Yeah,
But when you really hit it, shoot, you better pray to God, get on your knees and say, you know what, I'm sorry for everything I've done, and ask for forgiveness and move on, man. But it's easier said than done. But
yeah,
but from that moment on, uh, I've been told similar to what you've been told. You light up a room. You're a leader, and oftentimes, it's a double edged sword because you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But nonetheless, you have to be aware of how you inspire others. I think that's the purpose of this podcast because we need to tell our story. We need to be able to write the narrative before others write it for us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
JT, man, where are you going? What's your future looking like? What are some projects you're working on, man?
So the major project is trying to finish this doctoral program. My dream, and I'm hopeful that this is gonna happen. But my dream is to finish this job on time, man. Like for undergrad and grad, man, it just took me so long to really like finish up. And I don't really want that for for this doctoral program. So I'm very hopeful that all of my work gets done in a timely manner, gets approved. Once that's done, man, and that's over with, then I'll be able to really truly focus on, building the brand and the business all the way out. It's a struggle to be able to do a lot of it. And you and I both understand that, like just the reading and the writing and the research, and just, the time that you need to just chill. Like people want me to develop content, and I try to explain like, yo, that takes a lot of energy from me, right? Because I don't just put out no BS. You know what I mean? Like I have to think things through and really like I make a conscious effort to put out good stuff if I'm going to do it or say good stuff. So that's a struggle, but finish this doctoral program, bro, on time. Get that dissertation done. I don't care, what it look like for real. I just want to be done with it. And then build a business out, hopefully get some partnerships with some people. But my overarching goal, man, is to be able to be on a collegiate level, man, like be a professor, still be able to do, I want to be a professor, but I also want to be able to still work in the workforce and still do consulting work. So technically like 3 jobs for real. But I want to be able to connect the dots for students because I've done some work with college students before. And, these kids now, they built a little bit different than what we're built. And so they really need real life experiences and they really need the truth. And so being able to have that real life perspective is to me is just a wonderful approach to really kind of have. Because if we look at it, that's the purpose of internships and externships and things like that. But I want to be able to connect the dots for these young people, these young adults, as we move forward. And then of course, really building the brand out. I have, more t-shirt ideas and stuff like that. And then it quiet as it kept, man. I've completed the manuscript to my first book. I've been pump faking, so to speak, about the book cover. So I've been just trying to decide if I really want to get some professional pictures done or just have one of my homeboys like really, really, truly create something out of thin air for me. But that's really the hold up. I'm probably going to self-publish because I don't have a lot of money. Unless somebody want to give me a deal or something, pay me some money.
So JT Yarns is looking for sponsorships. Hit him up, man.
But the book is long overdue, man. But it's the first one. It's gonna be good. It is good. I put my heart into it, man. But I needed to get it out. And I tell anybody, man, if you have a story, man, get you a computer, use your cell phone, use a pen and paper, whatever you need, and just start writing. You could rearrange, reconstruct, you could build, you could do whatever after you put it where it needs to be first. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. I actually started. The crazy thing is I started writing years ago, man, when I was still in Tallahassee, still working with the state. But I didn't take it anywhere. And so when I actually started decided that I wanted to do the book, I took everything that I had then and I just put it in one place, read over it, started making adjustments and built the rest out from there. And so I didn't necessarily start from scratch, but I did have a lot of work I needed to do, even going through the editing process. It took a lot out of me, even though the book isn't like large or nothing like that, but just the content is so deep and so rich for me that I have to go to a special place to be able to get through it. But
this
yeah, man.
book This book, what is it focused on? Is it fiction, nonfiction? Is it is it a coaching book?
Bro, this is the craziest thing. It's gonna sound crazy, but when somebody brought it to my attention, I thought that it was far fetched and they were lying to me. So the book is like a memoir slash like self help slash coaching, right? But the bread and butter of it, like the meat of it, it's really about like child neglect. And it was weird. It was really weird when the editor, him and I were going back and forth, and he was like, your book about like neglect, like, you know, it's bad or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. Cause I'm looking at like the memoir self-help part of it. And bro, when I really looked at it, cause I try to tell people like, I'm just only talking about my experiences. I'm not talking bad about anybody. Because when people read it, you're gonna hear me talk about my dad. And so there's some people, particularly my paternal side, that are not gonna like it. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm talking about my experiences. I'm not bashing nobody or anything like that. But the book is really gonna be just this platform or this space to really have these candid conversations, bro, about you know, manhood and about you know, coming from, you know, a particular place and having to deal with some of the things that I had to deal with, man, and like having these certain experiences and how they affected me, you know, how they affected my relationships, how they affected, you know, the issues with, you know, my daughter or whatever, and like how I deal with that. And so it's going to be uniquely different because I'm coming from a place, I'm in child welfare, and you know that from my presentation, but I'm coming from a place that child welfare, or you know, we'll go with social work or whatever, the clinicians, they don't take this route. And so that's what made this book unique in terms of really talking about this side of child welfare, so to speak, in this unique way. And it surprised me because I never thought about it like that. I never even considered that, um, you know, my dad was really neglectful, so to speak. You know, when we put it in context and we use it based on, you know, a maltreatment index and those different types of things, like, you know, emotional neglect is a very real thing. You know what I mean? I may not have been abused or nothing like that, but when we talk about like emotional neglect, um, it's very real. And kids now, and I say generationally, like people that are our age and stuff like that, there are things that we need emotionally that our parents don't have the capacity to be able to give us.
Yeah.
You know, and so being able to talk about that and put it in a place where it's in a safe place to be able to really have that conversation, I think is good. And I think this is what the book will be able to offer. And then I ended with something very powerful. And I think that people appreciate it, you know, the way that I end the book. But
don't
yeah,
don't give away the ending.
I'm not. Oh, I'm not. I'm not gonna give it away. I promise.
I'm definitely going to order your book because what I want to see is I want to be able to get the book and the shirt, the Do Better and the book,
Yep.
along with autographed an autographed copy. So,
I got you, man. I got you.
where am I going to be able to find this? Am I going to be able to find this on Amazon or a certain website? Where can people go to go buy your book by JT Yarns? And what's the title of it?
So the book is gonna be called Do Better, unless I really change the title. But right now it's called Do Better. I'm definitely probably gonna do Amazon. So I'm really very new to this whole publishing situation. Like I don't really have all the details, and I've been taking this process like step by step. So like once the cover is done and stuff like that, then you know, then I'll be able to like move to the next phase to figure out like publishing and like how that really works. But I definitely want to do Amazon. Currently have my own website, which is edifyingempower.com. Right now, you could go in there and schedule a free consultation with me, as well as, you know, buy any Edifying Empower apparel. So shirts, hats, you know what I mean, book bag, you know, those things are on there. COVID did slow down shipping a little bit, so some things just take a little bit longer. But if there's something that you know that you want, just hit me up on a personal, because I also partner with Felicia, which is one of my good friends, and she makes sure that anything that I need specifically made in terms of shirts or whatever, like she'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
She does a fantastic job. Like right now, I have about 6 T-shirts she just did for me that are sitting on my table right now, because they're for somebody to do something for me. And she took care of it, man. She took care of me. So if there's something specific that you need that you don't see on the website, definitely hit me up and let me know. And then, of course, I'll be dropping once the book and everything gets to where it needs to be, pre-orders and all that other stuff. I'll figure all that stuff out. I'll let you know, bro. The world will know about it. And I want to do some book tours because apparently, that's how things work. So I definitely want to, do some book tours and stuff like that. But I ain't nobody famous. So I don't know if people gonna come for real, but I hope they come.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I'll definitely put out the word on my end here in South Texas for you. My other question is, and this is my personal question is there gonna be an audiobook? That's how I read.
Shout out to my homie Pierre, man. Pierre is in Phoenix, man. And P, I think he's dropping like his audiobook. And when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I'm probably gonna have to really consider that. And then I was also listening to David Goggins. I listened to some YouTube videos, and they were talking about like his audiobook and like how he did his. And so I think, once we get it in print, because I want to do ebook as well as hard copies and stuff like that. Once that's done, then I definitely want to do an audiobook because people listen to a lot of books as opposed to read. And then, the travel and stuff like that makes things a lot easier. So, and I think when I do the audiobook, I kind of probably want to set it up the way that David Goggins did it, to add in some of those extra things, some of that reflective piece and that kind of thing or whatever. So it's in the making, bro. But I'm taking it one step at a time. So, but the audiobook will definitely be on the way.
I think that's why podcasts do so well because, I mean, I ain't got time to be reading.
Right, bro. I tried to read in the gym one time, bro. It was
yeah.
I was like, just give me something to listen to. I'll get through
it. JT, man, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, man. Great catching up with you. One last message to any kid out there listening, to any adult listening, anybody in listening. What do you tell them? 2 words.
Do better, bro.
That's 3. Do better, bro.
Do better. But I know you said 2 words, man, but I'm gonna leave with this, man. Life is gonna punch you in the face, right? It's gonna punch you square in the face, man. It's gonna put you on your bottom. You're gonna have to learn how to get up and keep fighting. Anything worth having is worth fighting for. And so every day we get up, man, it's a different opportunity to really do what's right, to do what you need to do for you. And so you need to figure out what you need to do for yourself and then do it for yourself, right? You have to execute, and get on a journey of self-discovery. Figure out who you are. Figure out who you are at the core, without the degrees, without the clothes, without the cars, without all the other foolishness. Figure out who you are at your core. Figure out what you need. Get some people around you that's going to help you and support you and get you where you need to be. And then pour into other people. Don't pour from an empty cup, but pour into other people so that way you don't leave people better than with the way that you found them. That way you can give back to what was invested in you. That's what I got, brother.
Brother, it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you here on my first podcast. It's been amazing. Like you said earlier, man, we're going to build on it. And I think we have. We've definitely talked about very important ideas, important conversations that need to be had. But most importantly, we have a bond that will never be broken. And I thank you for that. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for definitely listening. And thank you for helping me build this, man. I appreciate it. JT Yarns, everybody.
Appreciate you, bro.
Have a great day, man. God bless.
Right. Yeah.